In the last few classes, we have discussed about functions, right? What is meant by function? Function is nothing but set of statements saved under one name that can be considered as a function. Whenever we wanted to execute these set of statements, we can use that name and we can call that function. Okay, we can call that function by using a name. Okay, example functions you can consider as sqrt, which we have used several times. Sqrt, like this, we can have some mathematical functions, sine, cos, tan. Like this, we are having several other functions as well. And frequently, we have used one function called input. Input is also a function which is already available. Next, we have used int of. This is a function. Consider only int if you have, this is a data type. Okay, only float if you have, this is also a data type. But whenever you use these parentheses, automatically that should be a function. Okay, so input, int, float, these are the functions. Even str of is also a function. Any other functions that you know, which we have discussed earlier? What are the other functions that we have discussed? Okay, so these are the functions which we haven't defined. These are already defined. These are called predefined functions. What you call predefined functions. That means already these are defined in the Python library itself. So these are called predefined functions. And we have seen how we can define our own function. Like suppose you consider defining factorial function. Okay, we wanted to define a factorial function, then we will be making use of the keyword called def, then the function name. This can be anything, any identifier, valid identifier, fact of, it will take some parameter, then we will be defining like some logic we will be using, then we will be returning some value from it, finally the result. So this we are defining. Okay, we are defining these kind of functions. We call it as user defined functions. So we can classify broadly functions into two types. One is predefined functions, another one is user defined functions. For these predefined functions itself, we are having another name called built-in functions. Built-in functions, which are nothing but the functions which are available in the library. We call it as predefined functions or built-in functions. User-defined function, the name itself indicating we are defining as we are using that language, so we are defining the functions. So these are called user-defined functions. Whatever the functions we have defined, like fact or Fibonacci or power, we have seen. Power, I told you to write as an exercise, I think. Then any other functions, like just this function also we have defined, fun. Like this, several functions we have defined. Those all are called user defined functions, which are not available by default. Whenever we define, then only we could able to call. Okay, so this is the classification of functions. Next, functions can be defined in several ways, in the sense that several variants we have while defining functions. Like we can say functions without having a parameter. Functions without parameter. Without having parameter. In the sense, suppose you are having one function called, we have started with this only actually, print address function we have defined. Print address, then without having any parameters. What you call parameter? Suppose you have defined a factorial of n. You have defined like this, def, and some functionality is there, then we will be returning some value as well. Now, fact of 5. Okay, this is the code. Now 5 is called argument, whereas n is called parameter. Okay, this is parameter, this is an argument. So whatever the variables that we have in the definition of the function, those we call it as parameter, or we can say specifically this entire thing is definition, right? Not only this line, this entire thing is the definition. So what we can say is, in the definition of the function, we will be having first line as the function header. This we call it as function header. In the function header, whatever the variables that we have, those are called parameters. I hope you understand. What is, of course, whatever you have understood, that is correct, but I am giving names to those, that's it. Because these will be helpful in understanding questions tomorrow. Yeah. Function header, what we will be having? Function header is nothing but the first line of the definition of the function. That is a DEF. Function name we will be having. Then set of variables that can be 1 or 0 or 2 or 3, like that we will be having. So those variables we call it as parameters. How many parameters we are having in the function definition or function header, especially those many parameters only we should pass from here. Suppose if you have one parameter in the function header, and if you try to pass two parameters, two values, that is two arguments, then it will give you an error. We have discussed this one. Try to understand, we are defining a function like this, and the first line we call it as function header, where we will be having the function name and a list of parameters. Whatever the whatever the variables we have in the function header, those are called parameters, and the same number of arguments only we should provide from the function call. This is called function call. From here we are making a call to this function. Okay, so this is a function call. So factorial of 5. So we are calling that function by passing an argument called 5. So n value will become 5, and in all these statements n will be used as 5, and it will be returning some value. Like this actual function will work. Yeah. Now coming to the point here, print address. Here are we having any parameters? What is meant by parameter? The parameter is nothing but the variable which is in the function header. So this is the function header, DEF. Print address is the name of the function. Then no parameter, no variable is exist in the function definition. So function without having a parameter is nothing but this example. We can understand. This we have discussed already. So just I am relating with this particular name. That's it. Next, second type, as you can say, function having parameter. Function without having parameter and function having parameter. Okay. So now function having parameter, how can we consider is, example is in this printed address itself, we have defined one thing. We defined or not print address? I think no. Print address, how any other function? Factorial you can consider, fact of n. Okay, fact of n. Here we have defined some functionality like f is equal to some variable f we will be taking, f is equal to 1. Then for I in range of 2 comma n plus 1, f is equal to f into I. Then print f. That means now if I pass factorial of 5, then 5 is the argument, n is the parameter. Here n is the parameter, 5 is the argument. Now this n value will be replaced by 5, f is equal to 1. We know already I, what is the functionality of for loop. So for I in range of 2 comma n plus 1. So it will start from 2 up to n. Okay, it will start from 2. Why we are starting from 2? Why? Because multiplying with 1 will not affect anything, so we can start from 2 itself. Yeah, I think in the class whether we have written from 2 or 1, of course value does not matter. Yeah, f is equal to f into I. Print f. So here we are passing one argument, then that will be copied into parameter. Okay, argument is what? 5, that we are passing to parameter. So parameter value become 5, then entire functionality will be executed, then finally we are printing the result. That's it. Okay, this is a function having parameter. Next, third one is similar to the second one. Okay, function having parameter, okay, and return value. That means here we are not returning any value, just we are computing factorial, then we are printing it. But instead of printing, we wanted to return that value to here. Okay, so we can make use of return statement, then f. Then we could able to get the value back to the calling place from where we have made a function call. Okay, suppose you are having a is equal to factorial of 5 plus factorial of 3. Try to understand. Factorial of 5, factorial of 3. Then factorial of 5 means it will go and execute, then it will be replaced by 5 factorial. Understand? It will be replaced by 5 factorial. So how it will work? Because of this return statement. Okay, this return statement, because of this return statement only we could able to get value back to this calling place. Otherwise what will happen, whatever the factorial of 5 we have, that will be printed. If we have only print of f, then 120 will be printed. But what is our requirement? We wanted to obtain 5 factorial and 3 factorial as well. We have to add that sum we have to get. Okay, not individually 5 factorial, 3 factorial. We wanted to get this sum only. Then we will make use of return statement, return f. Then we could able to get the required value back to here. So this will be replaced by 120. Similarly, factorial of 3, this will be replaced by 6. Okay, 6, 120. Then addition will be performed 126. That will be assigned to a. Then with a we could able to perform several operations. We can perform print operation. We can perform some other operation. So here you need to understand, return means that value will be returned to the place from where we have made the function call. Otherwise it will not return that value, just it will compute and it will return the control only. Control in the sense the cursor. It is like you are having 5 statements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, one after the another, like first statement, second statement, third statement, fourth statement, like this. One after the another control is passing. After executing this, it is coming to next line. After executing this, it is coming to next line. Like this, we are having sequential flow. Okay, control is like this. Now you consider first statement we have, second statement we have, third statement as if statement. Third statement as if statement. Fourth statement is statements under if. Next, fifth statement is else. Okay, sixth statement is under else, whatever the statements we have. Now you consider how control will transfer. Like first statement will be executed. Next, it will come to second statement. Then it will come to third. Whether it is true or not, it will check. Based upon that, control will go either to fourth statement or fifth statement. It depends on the outcome of this. Okay, control is nothing but in the whatever the sequence we will be executing, that will be decided based upon the, that's why this if, else, even else if, these and for loop, while loop, these all we call it as control statements. Actually the name of these all as control statements. That means how the control has to move. Control in the sense after completing first statement, it has to go to second statement. That means the control is given to second statement. Next, after completing second statement, it is going to third statement. So control is transferring to third statement. So why we are calling these as control statements is based upon this condition outcome, control is being what you call decided. What you call this control from here to fourth statement or fifth statement will be decided based upon this if outcome. Okay, otherwise what will happen? 1, 2, 3, 4 in sequentially only control will transfer. But as these statements are controlling that sequential execution, it is altering this sequence of execution. That's why these are called as control statements. Out of these, first one, these we call it as conditional statements. These we call it as looping statements. These are called conditional statements. These are called looping statements. So all these two will come under the one name called control statements or control structures also. Okay, control structures are control statements. So these are conditional statements. These are looping statements or repetition statements. Yeah, I hope you understand what is meant by control. Yeah, now come back to this particular one. Now here we are having one function called fact of n, then f is equal to 1 for I in range of 2 comma n plus 1, and we are calculating f value. Afterwards, we are printing it. Let us say we are printing it. So control will be written after printing it. Control will be written back to this fact. But what is our requirement is not only the control, it has to go along with value. Not only control, it has to go along with value. That means anyway, after executing this fact of n, it will come back to this place only. But along with that control, it has to come with the value. That's why we are writing this one. We are writing this statement. Why? Because we wanted to return value also. Understand? Then that value will be substituted here. Next, again we are making a function call here. So fact of 3, then again that 3 will be copied to n and it will calculate 3 factorial. That value will be returned. That means along with control, value will also be passed to this place. Then addition will be performed and we will get 126. Like this. Third category called function having parameter. Yeah, this is the third category, function having parameter and return value. Yes, any doubts so far? Yes? It is your responsibility to listen and note down, okay? Yeah. Next, other type we can say like we are having function with some parameter, but how many parameters we don't know. Let us assume according to the situation we will be passing some number of parameters. Okay, that is function having earlier we have discussed one thing that suppose function is having some parameters like parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. Okay, this is in the definition of the function. So we have defined some way like we will be writing some statements under this. Okay, this entire thing is a function. Okay, now how we can make a function call to this function of parameter 1, let us say a1, parameter 2 a2, parameter 3 that is a3. This is valid function call. Okay, this is valid. But let us say we have called this one by using a1 comma a2 by supplying only 2 parameters. We have called this one by using like this a1, a2, a3, a4. Okay, so here these two are not valid. Function of a1, a2, because here we are passing only 2 parameters, but two arguments, but here we are having 3 parameters. So it is not matching, so it is not allowed. Next, here we are passing 4 arguments, but in the function definition we are having only 3 parameters, so it is also not allowed. Okay, same number of parameters only, same number of arguments only we should pass to the function, which is equal to the same vertical number of parameters. Yeah, this is what we have discussed so far. But now our consideration here is, suppose we don't know how many values we will be passing. Okay, we wanted to define a function which will take any number of parameters, any number of arguments, sorry, any number of arguments. It can be 1 argument, 2 argument, 3 argument, 4 argument, like that, any number of arguments we may pass. But there is a requirement that we are having some functionality we know how to do, like suppose you wanted to define a function which will add given list of elements. Try to understand, we wanted to write a function, define a function which will add given list of elements. So how many values we will be giving, we don't know. How many elements we will be having in the list, that we don't know prior to definition. So we will be defining a function by keeping in mind that how many arguments we will get. So there is a provision in Python to do that, that is function having variable number of arguments. Variable number of arguments. When we will be using this one, whenever we don't know how many number of arguments will be passed to the function, then we will make use of this kind of function. Okay, how we can indicate that is like yeah, we will be defining a function like this, def function. Then we will be using one special type of operator called, of course we know this operator, but functionality is different here in this context, star, then arguments, or you consider parameters, or function star parameters. Then here we will be defining something, we will define later. Just you consider the function header is like this, and after defining this function, we will be having like we will be calling a function, this particular function, by providing two parameters 10, 20. We will be calling this function by passing three parameters 10, 20, 30. We will be calling this function by passing only one parameter. Okay, in all these instances what it has to do is it has to take this function call and these parameters, that these arguments 10, 20 it has to take, and it has to add and print the result. Then 10, 20, 30 means it has to take 10, 20, 30 and it has to add, then print it. Like this functionality should be there. Okay, or for simplicity we can change the name of the function like this. Add, instead of a function, just you put it as add. Okay, now how many arguments we are passing in the first function call? 2, second function call 3, third function call 1. Now how we can make these vertical generalized function, that is any for any number of arguments it should work. So what we will do is we will consider, although we have specified star PAR, here PAR is the variable name, okay, or the parameter name. Parameter name is PAR only. So this PAR you consider, you assume as a list of arguments. PAR could able to hold any number of arguments. How it is possible is it will be considered as a list. In list we can have multiple elements, right? Like L is equal to 20, 30, 40, 50, like this we have stored. So similarly, this if PAR is a list, then we could able to store more than one value in this PAR. That is intuition. Next, another one is we need to able to differentiate one parameter, one argument from another. So how we can differentiate? In the list we are having order, right? List is ordered collection of elements. So order will be there, so index will be there. By using that index we could able to differentiate. That's why we will be preferring vertical. We will be having this star PAR, means PAR we can assume as a list. How we can access list elements? By using index. So by using index we will be accessing. So PAR of 0. So first parameter we could able to get. PAR of 1, then second parameter, PAR of 2, then third parameter. Like this we could able to get. So how we could able to know that how many parameters are there? how many arguments we are passing. How we could able to know? Yeah, any answers? How many parameters we are passing? Suppose we could able to access the arguments by using index, as we have defined, as we have discussed that PAR is considered to be a list. Now, how many we are passing? It is like here 2, here 3, here 1, like, right? So whenever we are passing only one, we cannot access these two are invalid. So how can we determine that only 0th cell is valid, remaining are not valid? Yeah. How many elements are there? How?
Sir,
No.
length of the string we should find.
Length of?
Length of the list.
Yeah, length of the list. What is the list name?
PAR.
PAR. That's it. So here we will make use of that PAR, length of the PAR, so that we will come to know. So let us assume sum is equal to 0. We wanted to calculate sum only. So sum is equal to 0. We have to repeat a loop for I in range of, or we can say for I in even we can write PAR, right? Yes or no? Yes, PAR is a list. So I in PAR, then what we can do? Sum is equal to sum plus PAR of sum plus what we can write?
Sir, same sir. PAR of I.
One more time you think. What is I? I in PAR. So one by one list we are getting. One element by element we are getting here. I in PAR. So we will be having PAR is nothing but a list. So one element, next element, next element, like that I value will be changed. So we have to add what?
PAR of I.
PAR of I in the sense, what is the value of I? What is the
10.
value of I? I should
Of,
be like 0, 1, 2, 3, right? But what is the value of I here? What is the value of I? It is nothing but elements of the PAR, elements of the this list. So directly we can add I itself. Yes or no? Earlier we have
yes
used
sir. Yes sir.
this for I in length of PAR, range of length of PAR, range of length of PAR. Then I value will be range like 0, 1, 2, 3. Then we need to access like PAR of I. But here we are using I for I in PAR itself. That means that list itself we are giving. So one element, first element will be in I first. Next, second element will be I. Third element will be I. Like that, every element we have to add to sum. Then finally we will be printing the sum. That's it. After completing the loop. Did you get the point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Or if you have any confusion, then you use that only. Yeah, for I in range of length of PAR, then sum plus equal to what we have to write? PAR of I. Okay. Suppose by default, if it is accepting string as the argument, then you convert that into integer. Otherwise, no need. Okay, that you check and come to know. Okay, this is about the fourth type of function, that is function having variable number of arguments. Okay, here we can pass two arguments. Yes, two arguments. It is allowed. Three arguments. Then also it will able to what you call execute, and one argument. Then also it will give correct output. Okay, it will accept it. So all these are allowed. So this is an example for what? Function having variable number of arguments. Yeah. Next. Yeah, shall I rub this? Next, another one is, I think it is not visible properly. Yeah. Fifth one is function having named arguments. Having or function taking named arguments. Named arguments in the sense, suppose you consider one function we are define same add function, and first number, that is first name, or you consider number 1, number 2, number 3. Okay, here we are taking how many numbers? 3 parameters. Okay, n1, n2, n3. Then what is the functionality here is, we wanted to calculate like n1 plus n2, then b is equal to a into n3. I hope you understand. n1, n2, n3 we are taking, and a we are calculating as n1 plus n2, b is nothing but a into n3. So it is more what you call consolidately n1 plus n2 into n3. So we will be getting this b value, and we are printing b value. That's it. Okay. Now let us consider, we will be taking the input like x is equal to integer of input. Next, y is equal to integer of same. Next, z is equal to integer of input of same. Okay. Now we have taken 3 values. We wanted to call that function called add. What is the functionality of add? It will take three numbers n1, n2, n3, and it will add first 2 numbers, and it will what it will do? It will multiply with the third one. Okay. Now here we can give arguments like 10, 20, 3. What is the result? 10, 23. What is the result? 10, 23.
90.
9.
90, sir.
900, 90.
90.
Okay. 90 will be the output. Okay, fine. Now I wanted, if I give 3, 20, 10, then
230, sir.
230. Yeah. Now you consider, whenever we give same arguments only, but the order is different, right? Here order is 10, 20, 30. Same arguments only we are giving, but in different order. Then we are getting some other output. Okay. But what is our requirement is, whatever we intended, like 10 is for first number only, 20 is for second number only, 3 is for third number only. Wherever you give, in which order you can give, if you can able to provide 3 is for third number, okay, 20 is for second number, 10 is for first number, then vertical, in whatever the order we give, it will give same result. Try to understand. I will give one simple example here. Add is the function name. Then this 3 should be what? 3 should be the value of number 3. What is the parameter name? What is the parameter name for third number?
N3.
N3. So just you use that name N3 equal to 3. Like this you assign. Next, 20 we wanted to give to second number. What is the parameter name? N2. So N2 is equal to 20. Next, you give N1 is equal to 10. Like this, if you provide in whatever the order you give, you are assigning directly to that particular parameter only. So there won't be any what you call mismatch. it will give same result. If you provide add of 10, 20, 30, then you can, it is like we are giving flexibility to the user that these are the parameters. Okay, so what you call programmer, I can give one simple example. SQRT, who have defined ma? Rule number 1 or rule number 2, rule number 3 in your class? Nobody defined. Whether I have defined SQRT? No. But we are using that SQRT, isn't it? Similarly, one function whenever is defined, okay, some common functionality that can be utilized by many people. Try to understand the intuition. One function is defined, then that function can be utilized by that function. If it is having common functionality, then that function can be utilized by many people. So while using, all people need not define it. Try to understand, while to use a function, person needs to need not define it. So just he needs to call that particular function, like SQRT. We are calling that function, that's SQRT of 9. By providing the value, we are calling that. Okay. Similarly, we have seen several other functions. Input we have seen, int we have seen, float we have seen, like this several other functions also. Just we without defining those functions, just we are making a function call. Similarly, let us assume one function is defined. Okay, now you wanted to provide, you have defined, you wanted to provide other users, not only you, for other users some flexibility that he need not, whatever the users who wants to utilize your function, they need not remember what is the order of the parameters. What is the order of the parameters? Like I can say one simple example. Print we have used like this, right? Print, then end is equal to null, end is equal to empty space. Like this we have used. What is that end is equal to? End is equal to we have used, right? What is that? If you don't give end, what will happen? If you don't give end, then yes.
No spaces, sir.
Any other answers? No space. Okay.
Cursor goes to next line.
Yes.
Cursor goes to next line.
Yeah, cursor goes to next line. It will, by default, it will end with new line character. That is the functionality. But we are altering that by providing some other character to end. Okay, while by default end is equal to /n. Okay, /n is the new line character as we have discussed. So this we are altering by space, or this we are altering by empty, that is null. Then it will end with that particular character instead of /n. So here we are using this end is equal to, what is this end? End is nothing but the parameter name in the function definition of the print. Print is already defined in the library. So in that definition, some parameters are there. First, out of those parameters, end is one of the parameters. Okay, so we are making use of that end parameter name, and we are giving some value. So what does it mean? End is equal to, similarly here n1, n2, n3 are there. Okay, n1, n2, n3 are there. These parameter names we are using here. If you know these parameter names, in which order we will be using, that does not matter. Why? Because directly we are assigning the value to that parameter, so it need not worry about what is the order and what is the value of n1, what is the value of n2. Understand? So this is fifth type of function called function having named arguments. For every argument we are providing the name. That is the advantage of using this. I hope you understand what is the functionality of it. Yes? Instead of remembering order of the parameters, we are giving the flexibility to the programmer or the user that he could able to use the parameter names itself. Suppose instead of 3, just you assume one function called copy function exists. Just this is an assumption. One copy function exists. Copy function, the what you call syntax is like it will copy string 1, string 2, like string 2 will be copied into string 1. Copy function, we wanted to copy string 2 detail, string 2 contents into string 1, and the syntax of copy function is destination source. Okay, destination source. So first we have to provide destination, then source. What is the destination here? Destination is string 1 and source is string 2. Okay, fine. This is as I have given 1 into, you don't feel what you call difficult. Now you consider we are having string 1 and string 2. Okay, now I wanted to copy contents of string 1 into string 2. I wanted to copy contents of string 1 into string 2. Then I will be making use of copy function. Okay, string 1 into string 2, intuitively what we will be writing? String 1 into string 2. But what is the syntax of copy? What is the syntax? First one should be destination, second one should be, first argument is destination, second argument is source. So what is the source here? String 1. So source should be here, but destination should be here. Understand the difficulty here? Although the functionality is known to us and we have the valid parameters, every valid arguments we have, everything is known. But due to that syntax, we need to remember destination will come first, then source will come. That thing we have to remember, that order we have to remember. But remembering, there will be two things, one is source, one is destination. It will not be burden. But remembering the order makes difficult. I hope you got the point. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we will do here is, we will be using named arguments, that is copy of, instead of calling directly string 1 comma string 2 or string 2 comma string 1, what we will do is, we will be calling by specifying destination is this, source is this, like that. So copy of destination equal to, or intuitively what we can say is source. Okay, source equal to string 1, destination equal to string 2. Okay, actual order is what? Actual order of what you call function definition is destination comma source, but we have given in other order, still it could able to work. So here we need not remember the order, just we need to remember what are the parameter names. In general, we will be thinking that remembering parameter names is more difficult than remembering the order. But if you consider more functions, then remembering names is easier. Why? Because those names will be based upon the functionality of the function. Like add means two numbers will, addition of two numbers means two numbers will be there, number 1, number 2. Like that, some what you call, we will be getting some generalized parameter names, so we need not worry about those. Like print end here we are having, right? End is nothing but it is ending with new line. Like that, you can remember the what you call parameter name rather than order for every function. Why? Because in one function itself 3-4 parameters are there, means are 2 parameters, even 2 parameters remembering also more difficult. Yeah, I hope you got the intuition behind this. Yeah, this is about function having named arguments. Next, one more thing is, one more type of function we can consider, that is function having something I will fill. Here you see this print we have used without specifying anything earlier. Yes or no? Next, we have used this print by specifying something like ABC, then end is equal to, we can say suppose every line or every print we have to end with hash, then we can specify like this. Or every print we wanted to end with space, then also we can use. Okay, whatever the character we wanted to use to end the print statement execution, that you can specify. Here you can understand one simple functionality, that this you know, if you don't specify here, here we are specifying, here also we are specifying, that's fine. Suppose if you don't specify here, then what will happen? Yeah, what will happen, as we have discussed, it will end with, it will place the cursor in the next line, it will end like that. Okay, like of course we have seen this thing, A, B, C. Now how it will print? What is the output for this? A will be printed, then cursor will be placed in the next line, then B will be printed, then cursor will be placed in the next line, so C will be printed, cursor will be placed in the next line. Like this output will be displayed. Suppose we wanted to display ABC like this, desired output is like this, A space B space C. Then instead of ending with new line, we wanted to end with space, then we can use this one. So print A, then end is equal to space, so that it will print A and it will end with space. Similarly print B, then end is equal to space. Like that we can use end parameter. This is named argument, as we have seen earlier. But now the question is, if you don't specify this, what will be the end value? If you don't specify anything, like in these three we haven't specified what is end, so what will be the end value?
/n.
slash n, right? End is equal to /n, that is by default it will end with new line. Did we discuss this or not? End is equal to new line. At least functionality you know, right? It will place the cursor in the next line. That means end is equal to new line. Okay. So if you specify any character like this, or like this, then it will use this character. Suppose if you don't specify any character, then it is considering it as /n. Understand? So by default, try to understand the terminology. By default it will be considering as /n. If you give any other value, it will take it. Okay, this is nothing but function having default parameter values. Okay, function having default parameter values. Okay, this is an example, this you can note down. Let us see one more example as well with respect to this. Yeah, this one completed means I will rub. Finished? Yeah. Let us define one simple function which will calculate square of the given number. Okay, square of the given number. So it will be like one number will be the parameter. So number is equal to number. Then you consider definition like this. Just we will calculate square of it. So n into n. Then print n, print a, that's it. Or print n into n also you can write square of n. Okay, fine. Now let us consider we are having here x is equal to 10, square of x. Next y is equal to 20, square of y. Okay. z is equal to 30 square of z. Z is equal to 30 square of z. Yeah. Now, what is the output of this? Just a simple function, right? Square of n. So, x is equal to 10. Square of x means x will be copied to n into n. So, 100 will be displayed. Next, y is equal to 20. So, automatically n value becomes 20. 20 into 20. Next, 30 into 30. Next, that's it. So, this is the output of the given program. For example, if you call this particular function like this, square of, like this, without any parameter, without any argument, sorry, square of, then what it will do? Square of, in the sense, it will give you an error, yes or no? Why? Because we are having one parameter in the function definition, but we are calling the function without giving that argument. If you give two arguments, then also it will give you an error. Understand? But what is our requirement is, if argument is supplied in the function call, then you take it, otherwise you take the default value. That is the requirement. If the argument is supplied in the function call, that is, in the function call we are having the argument, then it is fine, x value you take. Here we are passing the argument, then you take y value as the n value. Next, here also we are passing the argument, so you take z as the n value. So it's fine. But if argument is not supplied, then you take default value. Okay, this is what the requirement. Then what we can do is, in the function definition itself, we will be using like this. Instead of specifying n itself, we will be specifying n value equal to 10. N value equal to 10. So what does it mean is, whenever x is provided, the functionality try to understand x square of x. So x value we are passing to this function. So automatically n value becomes x. Although we are assigning 10 to n, it will not be performed. Why? Because we are supplying explicit value, explicit argument to n. So it will take x only. Here we are passing y, so it will take y. Here we are passing z, so it will take z. But if you don't pass it, then by default it will take 10. Okay. So now what will be the output? X means 100, next y means 400, z means 900. Next, square of, then it will consider 10 only, so it will print 100 only. I hope you got the intuition. Yes? Yes, shall I need to repeat, ma?
No, sir.
Okay. So just this is similar to whatever we have seen with respect to this print. This print end is equal to, we are specifying something, end is equal to space, end is equal to null, end is equal to some character we are specifying. Whenever we are specifying, then it is taking this particular argument. Suppose if you don't specify this, then by default it is considering new line, as we have discussed. By default it is considering new line, so that is nothing but default arguments. Okay, default arguments, function having default parameter values or default arguments. Yeah, take this example. I hope you understand this. Yeah. Yeah, any doubts, ma? Okay. So these are the types of functions, just before erasing. Functions without parameter we have seen, that is just we will be having like this. Next, having parameter, we will be having some parameter like this. Next, function with parameter, having parameter and return value. So we will be having parameter, and in the definition we will be having return statement as well. This is a function having parameter and return value. And one more thing, we can have function without parameter and return value as well. Okay, without taking parameter, it may return some value after computation. That is also allowed. Next, consider fourth one, that is function having variable number of arguments. This by using star we will be getting, and whenever we use star, beside that whatever we have, that will be considered, that we can assume as list, and by using the index we could able to access the arguments. Okay, how many arguments will be there, that we can able to calculate by determining the length of the list. Next, function having named arguments. Named arguments are nothing but we need not specify, we need not remember what is the order of the parameter, just we will be remembering the parameter names. By using those parameter names, we can give in any order. Next, function having default parameter values. This is the example. There we will be having default value for the parameter. If function call contains the argument, then it will consider that argument only. If function call does not contain the argument, then it will consider default value. So these are the several different instances or different types of functions that we can have. Yeah. Next, in 5-10 minutes, I will try to revise other conditional statements which we have in syllabus. Okay, why? Because tomorrow only the exam, just it's a recap kind of thing. Like conditional statements, as I have told you in this class only, control statements can be classified into two things. One is conditional statement, another one is looping statements. Looping statements. So in the conditional statements, basically we are having conditional statements. We are having
If else elif.
if,
Else elif.
if else, any other?
Elif, sir.
We have seen ladder if, we have seen, yes or no?
Nested
Ladder
if.
if, or we can say
Nested if.
else if ladder. Next, another one,
Nested if, sir.
nested if. Okay, now coming to the point, if, just we will be having if condition. Okay, that condition I am assuming as A greater than B, and then followed by colon. This is important syntax. A greater than B, then colon, then we can have some statements here. Okay, this is the syntax for if. Just we will be having if as the keyword space, then we can have condition colon, condition followed by colon. Next, coming to the condition, condition can be made with vertical like this, A greater than B and A greater than C, and this is the operator. This entire thing can be a condition. Okay, condition is nothing but which results either true or false. Okay, here this will be vertical evaluated, this will be evaluated like A greater than B, whether it is true or false. True, let us say, then A greater than C also true, then it will give true, and operator will give true. Like this it will evaluate. So condition is nothing but after evaluation it should result either true or false. Based upon that it will decide whether to execute these statements or not. That is simple if. We can say simple if or simply if. Yeah. Next, if else means we will be having a condition A greater than B, let us say, then we will be having statements. Let us say statement 1. If this condition is true, then it will execute statement 1. If condition is false, then we wanted to execute some other one, then we will be having else. Here in else we need not have any condition, just we will be having else followed by colon, that's it. Here we can have statements too. Okay, this is if else. Try to understand here. For if, how many number of else statements we can have? For if, how many number of else statements? Can we have
No else.
two else statements?
No, sir.
No. Can we have one?
No, sir.
Can we have one else? One else statement, yes, right? For if statement, we can have one else statement. Can we have zero else statement? Yes, that is also allowed. Okay, like this you can understand. Yeah, any doubt? Okay. Next, ladder, if the name itself indicating, or else if ladder is nothing but if one condition is failed, then if condition is true, then we will be executing statement 1, and if condition is failed, we wanted to check another condition, that we can indicate by using else if. Else if we will be writing as ELIF, else if, then we can write another condition whether B is greater than C or not. Okay, statement 2. That means whenever first condition is failed, then only second condition will be checked. Suppose if you write if A greater than B, then statement 1. Next, if B greater than C, statement 2. Then irrespective of the first condition outcome, second condition will be checked. Why? Because this is a simple if. This will be considered as simple if. This will be considered as another simple if. That's why these two are independently checked. Whereas here there is a relation. If first condition is failed, then only second condition will be checked. If first condition is passed, that is A greater than B is true, then the statements will be executed and the remaining will be ignored. These will be ignored. Okay. Next, else if. Again we can have else if and C greater than D, like this, statement 3. Like this we can have if this is not true, then it will come and check. If this is not true, then it will come and check. Like this we can go, this is nothing but ladder if. Okay, or else if ladder, anything is same. And at the end, if all these conditions failed, then we can have else followed by colon, then we can have some statements here. Now this else is optional, as we have discussed. If one condition is true, false, then second one will be checked. This is also false, then third one. If this is also false, fourth one. Like this it will continue. If all are failed and we don't have else, then nothing will be executed. Okay, this else is optional. In the else if ladder, else is optional. We can have else if ladder with without what you call else statement or with else statement. Okay. Next, nested if is nothing but whenever we have if statement inside another if statement. If statement and inside another if statement, that is nested if. Or we can have, let us say we are having like this, if one condition, we will be having say, some statements else. Okay, else, here we can have if statement. So inside else also we can have if. Inside if also we can have another if. If or else if ladder or nested if, like this we can have. Even within this also we can have if. Else, if, like this, several levels we can have. Okay. I hope you understand what is meant by nested if. Nested if in the sense one if inside another if. Okay. Nested else also is possible. That is one if. Of course, without if we will not be having else. So in general, so else in the sense we will be having if here. So that can be placed in inside another else. Yeah. So this is about conditional statements. We have seen these all with examples. Yeah. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Okay. Next, coming to this looping statements. Looping statements, we have seen two types of loops, right? For loop and while loop. When we will be using for loop, when we know how many number of times to repeat, and when we will go for while loop, we don't know how many number of times to repeat, but until one particular event occurs, we have to repeat, then we will go for while loop. So in general, for loop we have used several times like this. For I in some range we have given, or list we have given, or string we have given, anything, it will be a list or some collection. Okay, it is a collection that you keep in mind. This collection can be a set, collection can be a list, collection can be a tuple, collection can be a dictionary as well. Okay, like this, from any of these collections we could able to get one by one. Okay, and even when you write range of 5 means what we will get? Range of 5 means it will return 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it will start by default, it will start from 0 up to 5 minus 1, that is up to 4. And these values you know definitely, I am sure that you know, if I give 15 it will start from 0 up to 14, that you know. If I give 1 comma 15 then it will start from 1 up to 14. These things you know, but internal thing that you need to recall is it will be returning a list. It is for I in range of 5 is same as for I in this, for I in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 list. Within square brackets 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 we have given as a list. So these two are same. I hope you understand. Yes. So instead of this list we can have tuple, we can have set, we can have dictionary as well. And whenever we try to access I, so from this list it will get one value. From this list I value can be 0 first time, in the second iteration it will be 1, third iteration it will be 2, like this it will continue. One by one it will take into I. Okay, this is the functionality of for loop. Okay, for loop we have used whenever we know how many number of times to repeat the set of statements execution. Okay. Next, coming to while loop, we will be having while, then condition, isn't it? While condition, until this condition is true, it will be repeated. Set of statements we will be writing, again it will be repeated. So this is while loop. Until this particular condition failed, it will be repeated. That's it. So this is about looping statements. And with respect to these loops, we have two special keywords called, or special statements called break and continue. What is the use of break? What is the use of break? Is whenever a loop is being repeated for several times, several intended times, let us say n times, if you wanted to break it whenever certain condition arrived, then if you want to terminate prior to its normal completion, then we will make use of break. Continue in the sense, whenever we specify one condition and if this under that we have written continue, then what will happen? For that particular, in one of the iterations we will be getting, we may arrive with this condition, then that iteration needs to be skipped and it has to continue from the next iteration. That's it. Suppose we are having for loop which will be repeated for 5 times. So range of 5. So 5 times will be repeated, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And whenever we get one number which is divisible by 4, we don't want to print it. Which is divisible by 4, we don't want to print it. So what we can say is, we can write it as print. What you call continue, otherwise we will be printing it. Okay, so here it will check I value 0, 0 mod 4, whether it is 0 or not. Yes, so it will not print it, it will not execute this one, it will skip that iteration and it will continue with the next iteration. So I value becomes 1, and then 1 mod 4 is not equal to 0, so it will print it. It will not execute continue, it will print it. So 1 will be the output. Next, I value will be 2, then 2 mod 4 is not 0, so it will print 2. Next, 3 mod 4 is not equal to 0, so it will not execute continue, so it will print 3. Next, 4 mod 4 is 0, so it will skip the current iteration, next iteration it will continue. Suppose if I give 15, what will be the output? If I give 15, what will be the output?
15 only, sir.
Yes?
15 only. Acha, okay. Sir, it will be everything except 4, 8 and 12.
Yeah, so what will be the output? 1, 2, 3. 0 will not be Printed, right?
No, sir.
1, 2, 3, then
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15.
14 only.
14, 14 only, sir.
Yeah. So like this it will, this is the functionality of continue. Okay. Next, similarly, if you write break here, then what will be the output? Instead of continue, if you have break, then
Sir, 0.
huh?
0, sir.
One more time.
Sir, output will be 0 only, no, sir. 0 mod 4 is 0. That will be,
One,
it
two,
will
three,
be
sir.
0.
It will
1,
not
2,
print
3,
any
sir.
output.
One,
No
two, three, sir.
output. It will not print any output. Yes or no? Sorry. Range of 15, and here we are saying if I mod 4 is equal to 0. So first itself it is 0, so it will break. That means it will terminate the loop. So it will not print this. So no output. Understand? Next, for example, 1 comma 15. Then what will be the output?
1, 2, 3, sir.
1, 2, 3. If I use here 9, then
1 to 8.
1 to 8 will be the output. Yeah. Next, we can use here, we can use one special type of else which is with the for loop. That is, after the for loop, we can say else. Else, let us say print equi. What will be printed? Same input is same 1 comma 15, then 1 to 8 will be printed or not?
It will be printed, sir.
Yeah, one it will print, 2 it will print, like that 1 to 8 will be printed.
Printed.
Afterwards, whenever I becomes 9, 9 mod 9 is 0, then it will terminate the loop. Next, else part, when else part will be executed?
When for part is terminated.
When
When for loop is terminated.
for loop is terminated. Now, anyway, for loop is terminated, right? Now, else will be executed or not?
Yes, sir.
What is the functionality of else? We have discussed. Whenever loop is terminated normally, then only else will be executed with respect to for loop. Okay, loop will be terminated in two ways. One is normal completion, another one is by using break. Break is nothing but a forcible exit, forcible termination. Whenever we terminate the loop forcibly, then it will not execute else part. Understand? So, I mod 9, whenever I value is 9, 9 mod 9 is 0, then it is forcibly prior to normal completion, we are terminating the loop, then it will not execute else. So, this equi will not be printed. Suppose if you, it is like a control is coming out of the for loop by using break statement or not, that we have to see. If it is coming out of the control is coming out of the loop by using break statement, then it will not execute else. If it is coming, if it is not coming using break statement, then else statement will be executed. Got it?
Okay, sir. Sir, you're not audible. Not audible, sir. Not audible.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Cells are over. Yeah. Is it fine now?
Audible, sir. Audible.
Yeah. If it is not audible, let me know, ma. Yeah. So we have seen several collections like a list as one type, then set, then tuple, then what else? Dictionary, right? These are the some of the collections which we have seen. List is nothing but collection of elements. These elements can be of any type, and these are ordered. Okay, and we will be denoting by using square brackets. This is ordered. Yes or no? Ordered, and can we able to change? Yes, so changeable. Next, set how we will denote by using square what you call curly braces. And are these ordered? No, these are unordered. And can we able to change? That we didn't see. Okay, let me. Next, tuple. How we will denote tuple? By using parentheses. Okay, are these ordered? Yes, ordered. Can we able to change?
No, sir.
No. Next, dictionary. How we will denote dictionary?
Ordered and changeable.
Ordered. Yeah, it is ordered. Next, changeable as well. Next, how we will denote dictionary? In the last class,
Square brackets only.
square, yeah, in the last class, as we have introduced this dictionary concept by considering list, I have used square brackets, but in general, we will
No
be having
duplicate.
curly braces for dictionary. Okay, yeah, I thought in the coming classes, you will come to know this curly braces while execution in the lab like that. That's why I didn't interrupt you whenever we have introduced by using list. But only remaining things, everything is same. But whatever we have discussed in that, just you change the square brackets with curly braces. And I can give one intuition for using this curly braces also. What is that is, we have discussed that up to 3.7 Python 3.6 dictionaries are unordered. Yes or no? Dictionaries are unordered. Okay, at that time unordered in the sense what we have set only. That's why they have used set notation. But from 3.7 dictionaries are also ordered, but still they are keeping the same notation. That's why we are having curly braces only. I hope you got the intuition. Next, what will be the syntax? Here we will be having key, then value, key, value, key 1, value 1, key 2, value 2. Like this, we will be having dictionaries. Okay. Instead of accessing by using integer indexes, we can have our own indexes. We can define our own indexes so that we could able to access it more appropriately. Okay, that is the advantage. Yeah, these are the list, set, tuple, dictionaries, and with respect to these all, we have seen several methods, several functions. Okay, I think prior to test 1, we have seen several methods with respect to tuple, several methods with respect to list, and in the last class we have seen several methods with respect to dictionary. I request you to please go through those all methods, those all functions. At that time, you don't know what is meant by function, what is the parameter, what is the argument, all these things. But now you have got what you call ability to understand those more clearly. Like insert function is there. What is the functionality of it? How many parameters will be there? What type of parameters? In which order we have to pass? All these things you could able to analyze now. Remove function is there. What is the parameter? What type of argument we have to give? What is the functionality? Like this, you go through all those functions and try to recall those all, because those will be more appropriate to learn now. Okay, that's why I didn't tell earlier. But due to that test one hurriedly, I have completed that. Now also you try to recall those because those are in syllabus now. Okay. So I think with this I will stop. If you have any doubts, you can ask me.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, yesterday you gave one code. I wrote that code, sir. Outcome is not coming. Can I share my screen once, sir, so you can check it?
I didn't understand, ma. Please repeat.
Sir, in yesterday's class, you gave us one code, sir, and I practiced it on my laptop. The outcome isn't coming, sir. Can I share my screen once so that you can check what is wrong?
Now you can send me in WhatsApp or mail, no problem. I will respond to you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise.